everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Now, you're probably a little curious about the setup and what is going on here. And today I thought it would be a fun idea to show you how I make my coffees at home and actually make them good. I worked as a barista for a few years at a few different coffee shops and developed what I would call a passion for making coffee. It's definitely something that I really love to do. It's something that I love to share with people, and being able to make it a daily thing for me, a part of my daily routine, has been super fun and awesome. But making good coffee at home without spending thousands of dollars can be very difficult. So it took me a while to find the setup that I currently have. I started with a Keurig like everybody else, hated it, and then moved to a Espresso machine and didn't like it very much. The coffees I was making at home were not turning out amazing. They didn't taste like a 7 Brew coffee or a Starbucks coffee, so I found myself often going out and spending my money at those places rather than making my own coffee at home, even though I knew I had the ability to do so because of my barista experience. So within the last year, I finally dropped a little bit more money to upgrade my coffee setup, but I didn't spend an outrageous amount, and I want to show you how I did that. Now, I'm going to show you my different machines first. This is my Espresso machine. It is the beautiful by Barrymore Espresso machine, as you can see by the logo right here. It has a little bit of an almost like touch screen on the front. So if you just touch that, it turns the machine on and starts to warm it up. You can see these lights come on the front display. It's also got, I didn't clean this enough. Here, wipe that off. It's also got a detachable little shelf that you can take off of this bottom piece, like most Keurigs do, so that if you've got, a bigger cup or something and you want to sit it in here but not sit it on top of this little shelf, you can remove it. This piece also comes out and can be cleaned if there's any espresso grounds left inside of it. But I typically just leave it in there because I don't use super big cups when I brew my espresso. You can also see that it's got a single and a double shot option, and it can also steam milk. So if you look on the side right here, I'll show you. It has a little milk frother, a little milk steamer, which I actually have never used. I have the old Nespresso cold foam maker and milk steamer, little cup thing. I would show you, but I don't want to go pull it out of the cabinet. But I just use that because it's a lot easier to use than the steamer. And I also don't have a milk steaming carafe. Is that what they're called? I can't remember what they're called. The little cups that you steam milk in. I don't have one of those. So I just use my espresso machine to brew my espresso. It's also got, similar to a Keurig or an espresso machine, it's got a little water filler spot. So you just fill this up with however much water you want. And usually for me, it's pretty low because is I do use my tap water from my fridge, which is kind of slow. And so I usually don't fill this up all the way when I have to refill it because I get lazy and impatient. But that just slides onto the back, so you don't have to refill it every single time that you are making espresso. It can be full for weeks before you have to touch it again. So that is my espresso machine. Now, I did get this espresso machine off of Facebook Marketplace, but I did not do my research beforehand. And you can actually get it for almost the exact same price that I got it brand new. I spent $80 and drove an hour to pick this little guy up from someone on Facebook Marketplace because I did not realize that it is approximately $100 brand new. And I thought I was getting a really good deal, but I didn't do my research. That's on me. And I'm just now realizing I don't have over here with me my portafilter. So this espresso machine comes with a portafilter. It is either a 51 or a 52 millimeter. I can't remember exactly which one it is, but it is an odd size. Typically, portafilters will be, I'm trying to remember, either 51 or 52 millimeters. And this one is the opposite of that. So it's hard to find attachments and accessories to use with it, like a tamper, which I did find one, but okay, so I think it's a 52 millimeter and this is a 51 millimeter tamper. So I kind of just have to use 51 millimeter attachments with it. It came with a scoop to scoop your espresso into it, and on the opposite side of the scoop is a tamper, but it's made of plastic and I just didn't really like using it. So I did spend about $5 on Amazon for this metal heavyweight tamper with the wooden handle, which I really like. And it fits in there very well, despite it technically being a 51 millimeter and this being a 52. So, moving on, my espresso. So, for the longest time now, probably for, gosh, I've had this since like April, so like 7 months-ish. I have been buying my espresso from a local coffee shop in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, called Heritage House Coffee. I worked there for a little while, my freshman year of college, and it is an incredible little coffee shop, and their espresso is so good. So, I have been storing up from them, but I did move to the beach back in July, and so I don't get to go buy espresso whenever I want now. I kind of have to plan my trips to be able to restock. But as you can see, I have not been back in a while, and so I'm running a little bit low on espresso right now. But yeah, these are my espresso beans, and I have this airtight container from Amazon. I believe this was about $30. And you press this button and it seals it shut to keep the espresso fresh. That won't budge. And then when you push this little button, it unseals it. So you can just pull it off and you can access the espresso, which smells so good. And it did actually come with this little scoop. So I use this little scoop with it. And like I said, I don't know the details of my espresso currently. I don't know where it's sourced from or what the notes are in it or anything, but I know it does taste very good, and that it's from Heritage House Coffee. So if you're curious, maybe their website has some info on it. But originally, I did not have my grinder. This is my grinder. And I was buying pre-ground espresso from Heritage House. I would just have them grind it for me, and I would take it home already ground. And I would take about a pound home, which is how much I usually buy in one trip now, which lasts me a good few months. 1 pound of espresso will last me a few months. So I was buying them ground, and I did not realize that the longer that espresso beans are ground for, the more they lose their flavor, which makes perfect sense. I just had never thought about it. So after a couple months of having my espresso machine, actually it was probably not even a couple months, it was probably like a month, I was like, this is just not tasting great. It's kind of tasting almost like my Nespresso machine was tasting. And I was like, I wonder why. And then I did the research and found out that I needed to be buying them as whole beans rather than ground. And decided that I needed to invest in a grinder. So there are hand grinders, and there are cheap grinders that you can get on Amazon or from the store for like $20 to $50. But I decided to invest a little bit more in my grinder because I do use these things every single day. You never realize how much you're actually spending on coffee until you sit down and add it up, or you stop spending that money. And I decided that I wanted to stop spending money on Starbucks and Dunkin' and 7 Brew constantly. And I wanted to have coffee at my house with appliances that I would actually conveniently use, and coffee that would actually taste good. I decided that was worth it, and that it was worth it to put the money into the grinder. So this grinder, I believe, was between $120 and $150 on Amazon. It is an automatic grinder. So all you do is press this little button, and then you can choose how many cups you want to grind with this, or you can choose how long you want to grind it for with this option, which will change it to seconds. So I just do 10 seconds because that's how long it takes to fill up my portafilter to a proper level. But I could also do cups if I measured it out. But I don't pre-grind anything, so I don't really have a need for the cup setting. Now this little guy up top is where the espresso gets stored. There's probably some gonna fall out of it, honestly. And it does come off, and you can see that it has different settings for how finely the espresso is ground. So you can do different types of coffee in here. For example, if I had just like a French press, or I had just a regular pour over coffee machine, I could change that grind setting to grind up coffee beans for the pour over, and then change it back to the grind setting for espresso beans, because they do have to be ground to different sizes. I typically leave my setting on about 4 because I found that's what works best with my espresso machine here. And all I do is when I'm ready to make a coffee, I pop this lid open. Now I could technically pre-fill this with the espresso beans instead of having them in here, but it is not airtight, and so the espresso would start to lose its flavor if I were to do that. So I'll usually take a scoop and a half, put it in here, scoop and a half of espresso, and then I'll put my lid back on, turn this on, And then my portafilter actually fits right in here, so I don't even have to hold it or touch it while it's grinding, which is the most convenient thing about this, honestly. And then I let it grind for 10 seconds. Paused it because this little guy is very loud. So I don't want him making a bunch of noise for a little video right now. But you can see it ground a perfect amount into my little portafilter, and I'm gonna turn this guy back on to let it heat up. Then I just take my tamper and just tamp that down with a little bit of pressure. Just like that. Very simple. And you can see now it is nice and compact down in there and ready to go into the espresso machine. So you just set it in there and twist it, and it locks into place. And personally, after being a barista for so many years, I like to use a measuring cup when I'm making my coffees to make sure that I get it perfect every time. Now, I recently started making my own coffee syrups, and this is the one that I make pretty much every single time. It is a salted caramel coffee syrup. Now, it does need a little bit of a mix before I use it every time, because it is made at home. It's not a Tirani syrup where it just sits in the bottle and stays perfectly fine all the time. This is made with literally just like sugar, butter, heavy cream, and like 2 other ingredients, water. Very, very simple ingredients, and I just love making my own syrups at home so that I know what I'm putting into my body. So this is my salted caramel syrup, and I just have a set of 4 of these little pouring glasses from Amazon. I don't know what the technical term is for them. I'm not very good at the terminology, if you can't tell. But I have a set of 4 of these and I love them. So usually I'll just put a little less than an ounce of syrup into my coffee because I don't like super sweet stuff, and this is quite literally just like sugar in syrup form. So you can see the ounce lines right here. I'm going to do a little less than an ounce. So there's the 2 ounce line. And that's usually about how much I'll put in one of my coffees. I always do a double shot of espresso. I will say that a large majority of coffee shops, at least the ones that I've experienced and worked in, do use a double shot in their mediums. So sometimes they'll do a triple shot depending on the coffee shop, but I feel like a double shot is pretty standard. So I'm going to go ahead and brew a double shot, but I'm going to cut it out because this espresso machine is very loud. Okay, the espresso machine has now poured a double shot into our measuring cup. So I'm going to take out the portafilter, and you want to move pretty quick at this point because the longer espresso sits before getting mixed or before milk is added in does make a big difference in how it tastes. So don't wait too long. A shot will go bad. So I just go ahead and mix in that flavor so that it dissolves into the hot espresso. And because I'm making an iced drink, I'm not steaming milk. I'm actually just going to add my milk straight into this measuring cup. So I've got half and half and whole milk here. Ever since I started drinking 7 Brew, I am a breve girly, unfortunately, for my health. So I'm gonna add in about 3 ounces of half and half, which is just about all I had left. And then the final 2 ounces are gonna be whole milk. Now, I would say a standard medium drink is going to be about 12 ounces of liquid, but I always do 8 ounces because I have small cups. I have 12-ounce cups, even though I do use a double shot. So I'm just going to go to that 8-ounce line, maybe a little bit over for some extra coffee with my whole milk. And then I've got a cup with ice in it already. Now, I will tell you that if you are not doing this method of putting the cold milk into the hot espresso before adding it to your ice, that is where you are going wrong. I mean, there's a lot of spots you can go wrong, obviously, with everything that I've talked about, but I would definitely recommend putting the milk into the espresso before putting it in the ice, because it does cool it down just enough that when you pour it over the ice, it will not melt your ice. Okay? So, that's it. That is an iced salted caramel latte with homemade salted caramel syrup and home brewed espresso. And that's how I make my coffees. I make this exact coffee just about every single day. It is my favorite coffee ever since I have been hooked on 7 Brew, which has been since probably since June. I've been hooked on 7 Brew, May or June. And yeah, it's actually very simple when you sit down and you look at all the steps and figure out exactly what you're doing. And especially when you have the right equipment, it becomes a lot easier. So if you are looking to start making good, tasty iced coffee at home, if you're a girl like me that literally loves to have an iced coffee in your hand every single day, I would highly recommend this setup. All in all, if you don't even count this, which this isn't even necessary, I would say it helps for sure to keep the espresso flavor intact. But if you take that out and you take out little fancy things like these little glasses, the two main things that you need here are the espresso machine and the grinder. And like I said, you can get cheaper grinders for $20 to $50 online. And this I got for 80 bucks. Brand new, I think it's like $100. All in all, you're spending maybe $150 on these two things. And I promise you, if you are going out and buying a coffee every single day, you are spending at least that much money every single month on coffee. So this pays for itself within a month if you are drinking coffee every single day. Don't be scared to make your own coffee at home. I promise it's not that difficult once you look at the steps and you just get into the flow and get into the habit of doing it yourself. It is very easy. And it's very worth it, and it's very yummy. And the best part is you can customize it as much as you want. So I think that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that it was helpful for some people. I hope it was relaxing for some of you. And I hope the rest of you just enjoyed it. I love you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.